So I'm Jash, and welcome back to more Jash Reads, a series where I read a book cover to cover and discuss it chapter by chapter. And there's also, a little Minecraft element, so I will build stuff too. So you want to watch all my Jash Reads, so you can, see how the building is going on. Now, today, this is going to be a little different as we're not reading a book per se. Instead, we're reading one of my fanfics. The first part of my By My Soul crossover fic, which is a crossover of Remedy Connected Universe. And I was going to say Remedy Connected Universe and Remedy Connected Universe. No. Remedy Connected Universe and Skyrim. And this is the first part of that, called That Part. Yeah. So instead of, discussing from an outsider's perspective about work, I'll be actually to get to some nitty-gritty stuff. So if you want to ask about my whole process and everything, now is a good time to do so. Before we start with the dramatic reading, I was thinking a fish tank. Let's see. Okay. Just going to do a little bit of this. No, the whole room shouldn't be a fish tank. Big enough for one. Size. Hey, come on, grounded. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so finally looked up about the whole what did Elon Musk do today? Because even though I don't like to, I know I still have to keep up with the news of the world because I'm an adult. I can vote. Scarily enough. No, this... That'd be too small. It's going to have to do. But yeah, so I honestly do not really like keeping up with the news because I'm clinically depressed, and it does not help me at all. But at the same time, you're an adult, so you need to keep up with the news. So you can make informed decisions, understand what's going on, yada yada yada. God. So from what I know about the situation, Elon Musk wants to do more than he is allowed to do, and so shit's going down because of it. It's just great. Okay, Biden's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but at least there wasn't crisis after crisis after crisis. Like with him, at least I was able to tune out the news of the world so I could, live a more peaceful life. And under Trump administration, yeah, that's gone. I have to be. Oh well. We're not going to harp on that too much today, because today we're going to be building something in Minecraft and a dramatic reading. Yay! Let's see. Okay, yeah, I can't do dramatic reading these conditions. I mean, fucking look at that shit. It's almost like Tobias is being close to being suffocated. God. Let's see. Is this better? Ah, yeah. A lot better. 10 out of 10. Okay. Now let me take a sip of Coke and get the chapter out. God. Maybe more than a sip of Coke. Anyways, before I get started, this is... So with that part, my fic... There are two narrators. There's Jash, who we've heard for the first 2 chapters, and today will be the first chapter that Alex is narrating. Now, Alex Casey in the game, in the Alan Wake series, is voiced by James McCaffrey. And if you're wondering who's James McCaffrey, if you're aware of Max Payne, basically Alex Casey is a copyright-free Max Payne, but that's a whole nother long story we might get into. I don't know how the discussion will go, after I read the chapter. But if you know his voice, it's very recognizable, very iconic, and I couldn't imitate it to save my fucking life. Like, I know my limits, and I know, so I know I can't imitate anyone, much less his voice, so yeah, I'm sorry in advance. Honestly, that is the thing that's making me a little bit nervous today. I was like, I can't imitate that voice fucking at all. Okay, do a little stretch, sort of. Thank God you can't see me. Because what I call a stretch, I don't think anyone calls a stretch, but you know what, fuck it. You can't see me. You don't know. Except I told you so. Okay, let's get to, okay, that's not reading. Okay, now on to the reading of, here, Anyways, let's get to reading that part, Chapter 3, Faded. I gripped my FBI jacket tightly as a snowstorm raged. It was noon, but you couldn't tell that by how thick the air was with snow. For reasons I had spent years trying to figure out, my dreams had gone realistic to the point it was hard to tell if I was dreaming. The only reason I could tell I was dreaming was that Skyrim didn't really exist. So the docks at Windhelm couldn't be real. Yet the cold was chilling, and standing in front of a brazier was the only way to keep warm. I had to keep moving so the people in my dream wouldn't pass through me as if I were a ghost. If this was my first time, I would have been terrified, but I had these dreams on a nightly basis. Sometimes they got me through the day. As I stepped out of the way of an Argonian, the race was the only dock workers of the city, I wondered why I was having these dreams. In all my years before these dreams, there hadn't been dreams like these. Some people were able to escape in the dreams, but I wasn't. When I closed my eyes, I was assaulted by whatever had been bothering me that day. Sometimes I didn't dream, or the dreams were strange. But I had never had realistic dreams that continued for years. Dreams that had a continuing storyline. Dreams that followed one character. Hell, I had never fallen in love with someone in my dreams. The worst part about these dreams was the fact I couldn't tell anyone about them. I couldn't afford a psych evaluation, which would see me losing my job. They would think I was crazy, and then my dreams would be my only means of escape. My dreams were pleasant, most of the time now, but they weren't real. They were no different than someone reading a book or watching a movie. When I started having these strange dreams, I had been forced to research without telling anyone the actual reason. When said research had turned into a seemingly obsessed fanatic of the Elder Scrolls series, I had to pretend to be a fan. I had to pretend that it had always been my secret obsession. I had to endure endless questions and debates. The worst part is that I eventually formed strong opinions on the series, which fed into the false narrative I had begun. The strongest opinions were of the call themselves Saxleal, and I had to respect that. While pretending to be into fantasy, I had been dragged into my office's Dungeons and Dragons group. If I were to refuse, then it was inevitable that people would ask questions about my knowledge of the Elder Scrolls series. What if they started to think I was insane? Now, every Saturday, when everyone was available, we met up and played a few hours. It was enjoyable, even though I couldn't get into it. But I could pretend I secretly enjoyed it, so people didn't grow suspicious. I let out a grunt as a few guards walked through me. Felt like they were tearing through my organs and skinning me alive. Yet, it didn't hurt at all. It was just extremely uncomfortable. At least it didn't last long, and I found another brazier to stand next to. A brazier that didn't have so many people passing by. Painless pain from these dreams had become normal to me. They had begun shortly after a messy divorce that must have left me more broken than I had thought. Because why else would I start having them if they weren't me trying to deal with all the fucked up emotions from the divorce? Though sometimes I began to think that there was another reason. But nothing else made sense except me dealing with the divorce. So why was there another reason always gnawing into the back of my skull? The Windhelm docks in my dream was different than in the game Skyrim. In the game, there were two ships. One there just for show, and the other to take you to Solstheim. In my dream, the docks were a bustling mess of activity since there were at least 5 ships at any given time. The ship that went to Solstheim wasn't always there, and people wanting to go to the island sometimes had to stay weeks in Windhelm waiting for its return. There were also more Saxleals running around than in the game. They also had their own voices and not just the same 1 or 2 voice actors. God damn it. Sorry, I'm stumbling over the name. Good. I have to... Yay! I did a little mess up. Netrenaza. Okay, let me try this again from the top. Sorry. I chose this hard to pronounce name here because I actually do like the character in Skyrim. No, he's not like a fully fleshed out character or anything. He has just a few lines, but he's fucking amazing, and I love him. More Argonian marriage candidates, please. Jesus. Anyways, let's take it from the top of the paragraph. Yay! There were also more Saxleals running around than in the game. They also had their own voices, and not just the same 1 or 2 voice actors. Netrenaza and Scouts Many Marshes were still there. that hadn't changed. The former looked angry, while the latter seemed to have a happy attitude. When researching on the Elder Scrolls series, I tended to focus on Saxhleel history and everything that related to it. I hope to someday find any information on Jash, the last Dragonborn. He was a Saxhleel that had once been called Kaisnir, but changed his name to Jash after freeing himself from slavery. He had also traded being a girl for a boy who had grown into the pinnacle of a man. It had taken me... Oh, God. Hang on. Screen just went a little dark. Sorry. The fucking name mess up in the screen shit. I'm sorry. This is a disaster. Help. It had taken me some time to come up with the theory that these dreams were his memories, or at least what I wanted to be his memories. Though, in dreams like the one I was currently having, he took his time arriving. Oh God, sorry. This is a disaster. Let me start that paragraph from the... Actually, fuck it, just keep in the burping. If you want to read the actual fic, you can read it. And it doesn't include burping, so woo! Anyways. In all my years, I had only been interested in women. Human women. I had never looked at a werewolf or dragon and thought about fucking it. Yet with Jash, it was different. No one else could compare to him in my eyes. While dreaming, I became more aroused than I had in a long time. Even while I was awake, I found myself masturbating to thoughts of him. In a trashy romance novel, the protagonist would talk about Jash's body, calling out for hers on a primal level. I need to see Jash, so I would wait until he arrived. I'm sure if I told Saga about my dreams, she would think I was being unhealthy. Maybe the truth was that I didn't care. I needed to see him every time I closed my eyes. Jash finally walked down the steps to the docks, and I looked at him. By the state of his scales and how his crest was pressed onto his head, I knew he was uncomfortable. His red scales were mostly covered by Imperial armor and a thick cloak. He had thrown the hood back so I could clearly see his white feathers, two horns that curved forward like a broken crown, eyes that had a sickly hunger of their own, and the 3 scars on the left side of his face. Jash! I cried out in a vain attempt to get his attention. Was he looking at me? Had he finally noticed me after all this time? No. I followed his love-soaked gaze to Scout's many marshes. Never before in all my dreams had Jash looked at anyone like he was now. I guess in my dreams there was such a thing as love at first sight. My world dropped from under me, and I had 2 conflicting emotions at once. I knew now that Jash would never look at me like Scout's. Love like that could never be done twice. There would always be something in the way. I also knew that a love that started that strong could never last. It would burn and leave everyone involved broken. People weren't prepared to love one person for their entire lives. Jash didn't deserve such heartache. I wished I could save him from the pain he would experience. Whew. And somehow we got through that chapter. Yay! Okay, let me get the chat all set up here. Let me get myself all set up. Let me sip some Coke. Num 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 num. So, yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay, nearly done here. Nearly done. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. So yeah, one challenge with putting Alex Casey was figuring out how to integrate him with the rest of the fic. Because during the initial brainstorming, and so I have a few different ways of when I write. The brainstorming part is sort of when I decide, do I want to write this thing or not? Is it going to be a short? Are there going to be multiple chapters? Is it going to be original or fan fiction? And the way I decide between original and fan fiction is, does canon hamper the story or not? Like, it doesn't matter if canon is, does canon do more harm than good? And so it's a very vast, and it's also when I try to decide the basic structure. And so when I'm going to just use brainstorming casually, but just know that, yeah, it is honestly a little complex, but it just gives me the basis before I even begin outlining, so extremely useful. I'm trying to find the spawn eggs, which I'm probably fucking just passing over. Let's just do this nice little searchy search. Eggs. That's fine. No, we don't want that. We don't want the dragon egg. Turtle egg. We need some fish. But anyways, during the initial brainstorming session, probably a few days, weeks, something, and by this point I had decided to be a crossover. I wanted equal parts Skyrim and Remedyverse, and eventually I decided to have Jash actually enter the Remedyverse. And initially I was like, oh, Alex is just going to show up when he gets to Bright Falls. But then, I was like, that probably wouldn't really work very well, just, suddenly this new character shows up all of a sudden. It doesn't really make the best sort of sense. Like, okay, how are we supposed to care? Just out of left field? Oh, guess he exists now. So figuring out how to integrate him, I decided that it'd be sort of best to have him show up earlier in the fic than I intended, just so, people could get used to him, his role in the fic, how I'm portraying him. So it was eventually, So I eventually decided on this dream things, because the dream thing would help not only, introduce how Alex, my version, it would also, have a little backstory for Scout's Many Marshes, because, if you read the summary to the fic, he's going to die, and, if you want to make a death meaningful, you really do have to give readers a reason to give a shit. It can't just be like, oh, this character died and you're going to care because they died. It's not... doesn't really work like that. So yeah, eventually it was that plan of, basically two birds, one stone. We get to introduce Alex, how he knows Jash, gets, get you to care about him, and at the same time get to care about Scouts as more than just, love interest, as, person with his own story. Okay. It's a little chaotic, but it works. I think we need some banners, though. So, yeah. Yeah, that's... It's funny how things change over the course of, writing, the whole writing process. So, yeah, Alex was not going to show up for quite some time. So I get distracted. So maybe having ADD and doing the dramatic reading like this is not the best thing. Yeah, that's how this chapter came to be. And then figuring out Alex's tone is, I mean, not just, the dramatic reading part, but the writing, figuring it out was I don't know if I fully decided yet, but, I'm trying to at least be consistent. So, for those of you who aren't aware of the Remedy Connected Universe, hello. You might need to sit down for this one if you aren't already, but in the Remedy-verse, Alan Wake got famous for writing some, detective thrillers about a man called Alex Casey. Now, oh god, trying to simplify this shit. So, Alan Wake has this ability where he can dictate reality. And now, before going to Bright Falls, he wasn't exactly aware of this. So, but subconsciously, he was able to figure out who Alex Casey was, even though that he didn't know until the second game that Alex Casey is, oh, wouldn't you know it, a real person. Okay, where was I going? So he got famous for writing these books about what he assumed was, a fictional character called Alex Casey. I mean, Casey's has the last name goddamn Casey. That just reeks of bad writing. Oh god. An FBI agent that solves cases and his last name is Casey. How the fuck was Alan Wake supposed to know that that was a signal that, he had this super ability? So anyways, he wrote a whole, series about Alex Casey until finally killing him off so he could, go write other things. And, woo! This is going to be a nice little sleeping quarter for people. Let's see what happens. Okay. That's what's below there. So let's see. Yeah, so he's wrote unknowingly about Alex Casey, not knowing Alex Casey was real. So, but Alex Casey, as revealed in Control first and later in Alan Wake 2, is that hey, Alex Casey is actually very real. Very, very real. So this is just to say that there's two versions of Alex Casey. There's, the Alex Casey character in Alan Wake's novels. Then there's also the very real Alex Casey. And now Alan's ability makes, the fictional Alan Casey, god damn it. Shipper's gonna have a field day with that one. So, Alan Casey. Just getting distracted. So, the fictional Alex Casey is extremely similar to the real Alex Casey. To the point where Alex Casey feels like Alan's been stalking him. But, at the same time, there's going to be differences because, for those who don't write, writing fictional dialogue and actually speaking with people are two completely different things. So with my Alex Casey, I'm trying to sort of balance the two, you could say. We don't really get much from the Alex Casey novels in the Remedy verse. We get a small snippet, and plus knowing that it's basically copyright-free Max Payne, there's more material to use, but I'm trying to, I guess, make it more human, less fictional, if that makes any sense. So just getting the voice right, I'm becoming more used to it, but still it's still honestly a little bit of a challenge. Just like with Jash's point of view, I'm trying to do more something that seems true that a Sax Leo would actually say. Yes. Labor of love. Balancing two sort of voices out. Because I have to keep on reminding myself whenever I write for Alex Casey that, that he's not exactly happy-go-lucky, and it's not a completely different persona. But at the same time, I find sometimes some lines, like little bits and pieces I've seen in the Max Payne series, that some of them can be so fucking down, it's like a little edgelord trying to write and be serious. So I never want to go that far in that direction, but at the same time, I know he's depressed. Yeah, it's and with Alex Casey's sort of conflicting feelings, like he doesn't realize that the supernatural does exist. Hello. Yeah. Oh fuck, didn't mean to go to bed. Didn't mean to go to bed. Okay, wait a second. So, yeah, Alex Casey with the dreams doesn't realize that the dreams are actually real. Because Alex Casey sort of needs definitive proof. He's not, someone that will just, take it on good faith. Oh, this is happening, so I guess magic is real. So, yeah, but you can still see the conflict there. Like, part of him knows it's real. Some part of him knows that there's much more to his dreams than merely, they're just dreams. So part of him knows that Jash is real. I mean, I don't see a man like him actually falling in love with anyone that he thinks is imaginary. So part of him does know that and just writing that conflict there. Brian's getting upset with the... Anyways, it's getting a little late, so I really need to start to wrap this up, even though I wouldn't mind spending all night and day talking about this shit. Anyways, so... let's see. Remember to like, subscribe, and this video's question is... oh my god. What do you think about the differences between the fictional Alex Casey and the quote-unquote real Alex Casey? And how would you personally deal with those tones and finding a good middle ground? And also, feel free to ask me about anything in the chapter that I did not mention, because there was a shitload I didn't get to, such as the Sax Leals. Oh god. Or the fact how... nah, actually... okay, that would just take up too much time. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to get into talking about the links, so please... please, why? So anyway, before I get talking about the links, some of the links are Amazon Associates links, which means if you buy from anything from them, I also get a little something something, so. Hey, think about me. I'm special. Gold. So, anyways, let's get started. First link is, of course, to my fic that part. If you would like to read that yourself, form your own opinions, read ahead, go ahead. Go crazy. Remember to, if you do like the fic, drop me a kudos there. That'd be fucking amazing. And it's honestly a real labor of love. Getting that fic done, testing things out. Oh, the plot bunnies. It was just going to be one fic originally, and then now it's going to go into 3 parts. So, plot bunnies are the true destroyers of worlds. Then the next link will be to buy your very own copy of Skyrim. I love Skyrim. If you notice, I do stream up quite a bit of it, say the least. I really like it. I wouldn't be spending all this time on a fic if I did not like the source material. Then the next link will be to buy Alan Wake 2. While this is a crossover of the Remedyverse, a good portion does take place in the Alan Wake 2 timeline, so. And I have yet to get to the game. I'm currently on Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and then I'm going to play Alan Wake 2, but I have studied up on the lore, you could say. So much. I've wasted too many lifetimes. Now let's see the next link is to my Twitter account, where we can talk all day and night about Skyrim or anything in the Remedy connected universe. There's a lot to discuss in the Remedy connected universe. It gets so complicated so fucking quickly. If you have theories, please tell me. I'll share. I'll bore you with my own. Wait. Let's see, where's that bell? Okay. I'm Jashikins on Twitter. I also have a Patreon. I'm Jashikins there too, and my Patreon helps with, you know, these crazy dramatic readings. It also helps out with all my other streams, every crazy thing I'm doing on my blog. And also the books I'm releasing. And my Patreon has 2 tiers. A $1 tier where you can get to see my latest Redbubble designs before I actually release them into the world. Then there's a $5 tier where you get to see my cover reveal, so you get to see the covers for my Kafka's Men series before anyone else. Okay, can't take a picture there. And finally, when I set my latest Kafka's Men book for pre-order, you can also read the first chapter before anyone else. And let's get to that final link, shall we? The final link is to my Kafka's Men series. Yay! And my Kafka's Men series is reverse harem, slow burning reverse harem. So if you like your slow burns going slower than glaciers melt, good news! It's a great series for you. And after the 8th book comes out, I'm going to have to start marketing the series as dark romance, because honestly, I finished writing Kafka's Men 8 and I honestly just stared blankly at the screen for a good minute or two, because it's like, what the fuck did I do? And that will be it for today. Sorry that this wrapped up quicker than intended, but probably that's a good thing so I don't ramble on. But I'm going to go get some nom noms and maybe you watch this while eating your own nom noms, in which case, hi. Don't know I said hi. Just did. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Oh, and so as I mentioned, I finished writing Kafka's Men 8, and I'm going to be focusing more time on editing, formatting, cover design, and, you know, getting it all set out for pre-orders. Which means the next episode of Jash Reads That Part is going to face a little bit of delay, but don't worry, I am not stopping the series. I just need to focus more on releasing my own book. So, if you actually do like this, you know, fic, you should check out my original series too. And until next time, whenever that may be, goodbye.